right, my man. French toast or pancakes?
French toast.
Oh, okay.
French toast.
Are you a car guy or a truck guy? Not in terms of what you have, but what you would prefer.
Contrary to popular belief, because I am from the South, in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere,
Right.
I'm a car guy. I'm
Alright.
an economic guy.
I like that. Economic. Good terminology right there. Would you rather mow grass or rake leaves?
Mowing's therapeutic.
Okay.
Mowing's cool.
There we go. I like
Yeah.
that. Mowing's cool, kids. Remember that. Favorite color, if you could pick one.
Purple.
Right off the dome with it.
Yeah.
Last but not least, what's your main hobby? Not sports related.
Oh man, that's tough.
I know that's a hard one because
Yeah.
you always hooked and booked doing a lot of stuff with
Yeah.
sports, brother.
Yeah, you know what? I play an instrument. I play the piano.
Really?
I played the piano since I was in the 8th grade.
Really?
Yep.
And you still enjoy it?
Yep. I've been in music. I was in the marching band. I was in the marching band all the way through junior high, high school. This is a fun fact. And if you're ever in Tishomingo, Tishomingo High School, they'll tell you I'm the only person in school history to all conference in football and marching band.
Really?
Straight up.
That's called being a jack of all trades. Dog. You're on both ends of the spectrum.
I tried to be.
I like it. Well, you gave me a little bit of the bio. Nice segue. You're from Tishomingo, Oklahoma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about how it was growing up in such a small town, right?
Tishomingo is not like a lot of other small towns, because I think when you think of that area of the state, you do think of like small schools with they're just like pumped athletically,
Yeah,
right? In our conference, we had Kingston. We'd see them 2 or 4 times a year on the basketball court, who
True
was a state champion in 3A, you know?
Y'all last year.
Sorry about that one.
But you know what?
Sorry about that one.
Because you know, just to let everybody know what you're talking about, they beat Millwood in the final state finals last year. Beat them down.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
I wasn't there yet.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, as you were
see.
saying,
Gosh, we were so poor athletically performing. I think playing football all 4 years, I think I won a combined 5 games.
5 in 4 years.
5 in 4 years.
Man.
Basketball, I mean, God, we were never above 500, you know. And I didn't play basketball all the way through, surprisingly. Track, we were all right. We would be like a contender. We'd have guys. We had a couple guys that won state and individuals. Like we had a guy win the hurdles.
Man.
A guy winning the mile. But other than that, I mean, it was we were bottom of the barrel in our conference in pretty much every sport. I didn't play baseball, but I know those baseball guys were struggling too.
So 3 sport athletes. Is that what I'm hearing? Basketball, track, football.
I would say now, like, marketing myself more as a 2-sport athlete, because I was not a good basketball player.
I got you. I hear you.
I know that's surprising for being in my current position. I think I am a really good basketball writer, but I wasn't. I quit basketball after the 11th grade. You know, football, track. I was a good athlete.
That's where your bread was buttered.
Not an unbelievable athlete, but you know, all conference, all district, stuff like that. But basketball was not. I wasn't a basketball player back then.
You know, I can understand. Matter of fact, I like the fact that you're able to embrace that, and knowing what you were good at and what you weren't. Now, did you give it up because you were like, man, listen, I'm just not very good, or was it just
football?
If football took over late in your high school career.
So I was a kicker.
Okay.
I was a kicker punter.
I mean, not too many bumps and bruises then.
Oh, not too many. Well, in high school, I went to a small school, so I caught passes and did things like that. But I was a kicker, you know, first and foremost.
Primarily.
Playing basketball was really just like what I would do to compete, because in the winter, like, you know, you can't really get outside and kick footballs. There's not much you could do on the gridiron in the winter. So I was there competing, getting some conditioning in, getting ready for track.
Hell yeah.
So once I knew that football was going to be my path, I was, you know, done with basketball.
I understand it. Being now, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times what I've seen in smaller towns, it's like it's almost a part of the culture that all athletes play multiple sports. You know, is that how it was growing up for you? Was it by choice, or were you made to do something else by your other coaches?
It's kind of funny because I grew up in Norman, right? I was
Okay.
grew up in Norman. I didn't move to Tishomingo until middle school.
Ah,
I had absolutely no interest in playing sports at all until
Really?
middle school.
huh.
And I got to middle school, I started playing football, I started running track, started playing basketball. So yes, it's so deeply ingrained. And when you live in a small town like that, you have to do everything.
Mhm.
I was also like the president of my class. I was also in the marching band,
Damn.
as you just heard.
Very well known, doing a lot of things.
I was on the quiz bowl team too.
Okay, now what is it? Explain. I don't think I've heard that
It's
one.
academic team. It's like competitive questioning. Basically, the format is each school, like each team has 4 members, and
Right.
there's a moderator who asks questions, and you have an electronic buzzing system, and if you know it, you buzz in, and each question's worth 10 points, and that's the scoring system. So,
Gotcha.
and we were state quarterfinalists in quiz bowl. So that was right in the middle of track season too. I mean, small town, man, you do everything.
Do everything.
You do everything. Yeah.
What-
Stuff you couldn't do if you were in a big town. You went to, like, I would just have done football,
Really?
or
If
like
you were anywhere else?
just, yeah. I mean, if you're at an Edmond Public Schools or a Putnam City Schools or
Mhm.
Moore, Norman, I
Right.
mean, you got to specialize at some point. You know, usually, unless you're outstanding.
Unless
multiple
you're
sports.
one of those exceptional athletes.
Some are, but
Some
I
are.
wasn't that guy.
And I
at
wasn't
all.
either, man. But there's still a part of me that wishes that I would have pursued at least one other sport outside of just basketball.
Yeah,
But then
I hear
again, I
you.
was such a gym rat.
I
I
hear you.
enjoyed being in the gym year round. So
Yeah.
I'm conflicted. But anyway,
I hear
like,
you.
when did you know that A, you wanted to take your talents to the next level and be a college athlete,
Mhm.
or B, that you actually were good enough to have a chance to do so?
I would say my freshman year of high school is when
Okay.
that's when I gravitated towards football.
Mm-hmm.
And B, I think that's when I realized, like, I'm 13 years old and I'm kicking 40-yard field goals. So, like, maybe if I work on this, get with a personal coach, I'll be able to get on somewhere and play. And that's what I did, And that's also when I knew, like, when I was in the 6th grade, right? I was like, oh, I'm going to be the next Russell Westbrook.
Straight up.
You know what I mean? Because, like, that's what we all did.
Yeah, you got an
when we were that
imagination, you
young.
got lofty ambitions, all that good stuff.
Yeah, but football became my thing
Mhm.
when I was 13, 14. But I was still very, very interested in basketball, and to this day, right? I work in basketball.
Right.
I work in basketball recruiting, so obviously that interest was always there, but the
Mhm.
talent just wasn't.
I hear you. That's a very mature synopsis that you just gave. A nice little breakdown.
Appreciate it.
So then you go on to college, right?
Mhm.
And you're still currently a college student. You got a year left to go. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
that's right.
UCO, University of Central Oklahoma.
Mhm.
How'd you get there? How'd that come about?
Man, it would be a book if I just went into my whole recruiting. But
I got you.
I was going into my senior year. I had pretty heavy recruiting from like some in-state D2, SWASU.
Yes, sir.
Southeastern was one of them too.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of some stuff happens. I kind of got led down the wrong paths. My parents didn't graduate college. My parents, neither of them went to college for more than a year.
I got you.
So I didn't know what I was doing, and nobody in my family knew what I was doing.
Sure.
Um,
You having to just learn
I
as you
didn't
go.
realize, like, I have to apply to all these schools to play football there and all these different things. So what ends up happening is the week before signing day,
Mhm.
and I'd been heavily recruited by the coaching staff at SWASU.
Right.
The week before signing day, the coach who had been recruiting me texted me like, hey, man, and I was supposed to go on my official visit that weekend.
Okay.
I was literally supposed to go on my official visit that Saturday
And this was to SWASU?
to SWASU.
Okay.
Official visit on Saturday. Signing day was like that consequent Tuesday or Wednesday.
That was coming quick then.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
Okay.
It was last minute, and he texted me. He's like, "Hey, man, like we would still really like you to come here and play, but we're out of scholarship money." And I was like, "What? I didn't know you could do that."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't realize I had to commit.
Mhm.
Like I had to give my verbal commitment and things like that. I didn't realize that was the thing. So then signing day passes. It's track season. I'm like, trying to figure out whatever I can do with the rest of my life.
Mhm.
My best friend, he goes and plays at Southeastern. I get in contact with the Southeastern coaches. Well, he's signed to play there.
Mhm.
I don't want to disclose like monetary or athletic scholarship facts, but
Sure.
they were going to let me come play for a very, very, very modest dollar amount.
Mhm.
Basically walking on
Right.
but I could say I was on scholarship.
There you go.
So I get offered by some NAIAs. I go on a visit to Tabor. At the end of the day, it probably helped because UCO was the school that I had wanted to go to.
Okay, so you actually had that part worked out where you wanted to go.
Yeah, and UCO had kind of got my recruiting a little bit, but they didn't offer me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I end up in a place where I have no offers, it kind of leads me to a situation where I can pick wherever I want to go to school and walk on there. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I ended up at the place I actually wanted to go academically. And obviously, I only end up playing, I end up quitting right before my sophomore year starts. Right. But I'm still at that school. And I think about it now, a lot of these other schools, I wouldn't have got the quality of education, the degree I wanted at these other schools. I don't want to name places or trash places, but there were other places that if I would have quit after a year there, I'd just be going to school there.
Right.
So I'm glad I made the decision that I made. It ended up working out for me.
I got you. Now, were you able to save yourself some money, scholarship-wise, because you were a good student in high school, right?
No, I didn't. This is the silliest thing ever. I didn't apply anywhere before scholarship deadlines.
Wow.
Coming out. I mean, I was so clueless.
Yeah, you were green.
Which is part of what gives me the energy, the motivation to want to help these high school kids coming in now, give them recruiting advice as much as I can, right? Within NCAA limitations, obviously, but I tell them hey, you guys have to do better in the classroom. I have to tell that to a lot of kids. You have to do better in the classroom if you want to go where you want to go.
That's true.
You have to apply. You have to know the process. You have to know what's going on. And that was a process I was not privy to at all.
And, I guess an average mind might blame your folks, but it's they only knew what they knew. They couldn't prep you on that one.
Yeah, of course. I don't hold any ill will against them at all because they didn't finish college and they also they weren't athletes at all.
Right.
So they didn't know anything about, my dad didn't realize when SWASU canceled out my scholarship offer. He was I didn't know they could do that. I didn't know that they could just take that away from you, especially a week before signing day. So nobody really knew what was going on.
And nothing was in writing. So you know what I mean? It's one of those things.
Exactly.
Okay, so with a year left of school, you're a journalism major, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. What's the plan once you're finished with school? All right, because you're doing a hell of a lot right now with being a regular student. So much so that I would look at you as a regular tax-paying citizen. But what's the next? What's the first order of business after you get your degree? A year from now.
It's hard to say.
Hard to say?
Because of the current job market in journalism.
Good point.
Prep Hoops has been very generous, has been a very good employer.
Yeah.
Right now my number one plan is to stay with them for the time being immediately after I graduate. If they're watching, hopefully they'll give me a nice little raise.
There you go.
when I get my degree. And staying with them. They've given me an outstanding platform, excellent opportunities. Last summer I was 20 years old and they were flying me to LA, Atlanta, other places. I got to get on planes and stay in hotels and watch high school basketball. Right. And I was getting paid to do the shit.
I'm telling you, it's one of those how did I get so lucky?
Yeah. So, right now the plan is to stay with them. I hope my career just takes me as far as I can go. I want my talent to take me. If I end up, potentially in ESPN's recruiting department someday, or Rivals, or 24/7, or any of those other publications, that would be amazing. But right now I'm kind of centered on Prep Hoops. Staying with them, maybe doing stringer work for local papers like I have been pretty much all through college.
How did Prep Hoops come about? Did you find them or they found you?
Yeah, so it was kind of a mutual finding.
Okay.
I put myself out there, but me putting myself out there led to me being the front runner for the position. So Matt Reynolds, who started the thing, who brought the thing to Oklahoma, who brought the market, he was a guy who, when I was in high school, I was an admirer of what he was doing, right?
Sure. You were already in the loop then.
Yeah. So I was a big fan of his. I got my first freelance writing job when I was 17, working for the Daily Ardmore out of Ardmore. I go to UCO. My job at the Ardmorite carries over to the Edmond Sun. I get a job with the Edmond Sun thanks to some help from the journalism staff at UCO.
Right.
So my freshman year, I'm 18 years old when I start writing for the Edmond Sun.
And you already had a year under your belt, right?
I already had about a year under my belt, yeah.
Okay.
So then I'm running into Matt Reynolds at events, covering some of the local talent in the area.
Sure.
I go introduce myself to him, say, like, I'm a big fan of yours. I followed your work since I was in high school.
Right.
And then I'm looking for an internship opportunity after my freshman year of college.
Well, was that protocol, or that was something that you just wanted to do so you could learn the business?
Just something I wanted to do.
I feel that.
Just kind of being ambitious, kind of saying, like, hey, I'm going to put myself out there because I'm sure not going to get opportunities if I don't.
That's right.
Shake hands with these people.
Until you ask, the answer is always no.
Exactly.
Good point.
I text him about it. He's like, really right now we need a part-time writer. So I'm like, man, what do you need from me? Yeah. And literally 2 weeks later, I'm going to Vegas to cover Team Griffin. I mean, it happened for me like that. Yeah. I mean, it's truly been a remarkable turn of events for how my career got to where it is. And, I tried to be as industrious as possible, as professional as possible. And that has just kind of compounded the success that I've already had.
And all of this is materialized in just about a 3-year span for you? Are you 21 or 2 at this point?
I just turned 21.
Just turned 21, yeah. So this is a short while, man.
Absolutely.
Picking up steam.
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to be a sports writer very, very
early?
Probably about 11 or 12, right, is when I was kind of admiring, like, I got Sports Illustrated every week or every month. I think it's monthly.
Sure.
I was getting ESPN, the mag. I was getting all of that stuff to my house, reading it, blowing through it. And I was like, hey, Mom, when's the next Sports Illustrated coming? I ate that crap up. And so I knew from a young age, like, hey, I love sports. I love writing.
Let's give this thing a go.
Yeah, exactly.
For those who may not be privy to Prep Hoops as a conglomerate, right? Explain what Prep Hoops is, how much ground you all actually cover, what all it entails.
For sure. So I get this question a lot. It's an excellent question because you wouldn't really know if you didn't ask the people who are doing it.
Exactly. I just don't want to limit.
Yeah. It's such like a bifurcated market in that it is a publication first and foremost. It's like doing a job in journalism, right? I'm still a reporter, but you are a recruiting reporter. So you are covering recruiting. You are at the same time also, like, we're an NCAA certified scouting service as well. Okay. So the NCAA Division I and Division II coaches can subscribe to our service. They can talk to us, legally. They're
within their guidelines.
Within certain, like, summer period guidelines and things that the NCAA enforces. They can talk to us. They can text us. We can send film over. So I guess probably the best way I could describe my job is what I would do on a game night.
For sure.
On a game night, let's say I'm going over to watch, like, Edmond Memorial play, like, Southmore.
Okay.
Right. I get to the gym 15 to 30 minutes before the game starts. I bring in my camera. I bring in my laptop. I sit at the scorer's table.
So you guys got your media pass and all of that good stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. We have credentials. I go stand on the baseline and film for a quarter or two, maybe 3 quarters if it's a really, really good, enticing game. I take that film. I'll edit a quick minute-long brief of the game with a score at the end and things like that. Just some basic video editing. I write a story following the game, immediately following the game. I might go to the coach, get some quotes, like you would working for a newspaper.
For sure.
And then I kind of put it all together. By 11 to 11:30 p.m. every night, I like to have the video edited, the story published, post it to my Twitter, post it to the Prep Hoops Twitter. Here's a link to this story, like Southmore defeated Edmond Memorial 60-57 on Tuesday night. Here were some notes from the game.
Right.
The link to the story, the hashtag Prep Hoops, and then the video. Right. And that's a game night for me.
Tuesdays and Fridays.
Tuesdays, Fridays, tournament time. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all weekend. Man. You're doing that.
That's a good type of business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Prep Hoops is a national business also.
Okay.
So we have a Prep Hoops Oklahoma, but we also have a Prep Hoops market, and I want to say 31 states around that area. So we have a Prep Hoops Texas. We have a Prep Hoops Missouri.
That part I didn't know.
We have a Prep Hoops Florida. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And we host AAU events as well in the summer. We host a circuit that runs all over the country. So in the summer, my job becomes different. During the season, I was, covering high school basketball and high school, Tuesday, Friday nights, like you said.
Right.
In the summer, it's a weekend job.
Okay.
Because that's AAU tournaments typically fall grassroots tournaments. Thursday through Saturday, Friday through Sunday.
But you're
whatever.
on the road at that point, right?
You're on the road.
Or in the air.
And like I said, I'm so gracious. The company's been really rewarding to me for giving me opportunities like getting to fly. I flew a lot last summer. I got to go to see a lot of really, really, I was 20 years old getting to watch like Cade Cunningham go tear it up on the EYBL.
Right.
Like getting to see Josh Christopher, like all these guys that you see on Slam and whatever, and I'm getting to cover these guys.
Yeah, it's like, damn, I'm in the same venue and I'm getting footage.
It's been a tremendous opportunity. Yeah. So in the summers, it gets a little more stressful because like you're sitting down and you're filming and you're writing. You're doing it all day for like for like a 3-day period. It's hard work. These tournaments usually start between 8 and 10 a.m. They'll go as late as 8 p.m. You're sitting there writing all day, locked in, paying attention.
Can't miss much.
They might bring you lunch, you might DoorDash or something, but you're watching, you're writing. You go back to your hotel, you write some more, you post some notes to Twitter, and you do that all summer, every weekend.
Man.
But it's fun.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's chaotic. It's high energy, but like it's fun. You're getting to watch.
And you're always in the know.
Awesome players.
That's one thing
You're
I've always
in the
been.
know.
Yeah, I've always been a little jealous about that because, like, even with me being a coach, I'm not as tapped in with who's who as much as you guys are in the media. So it'd be nothing for me to call you up and be like, "Yo, Bryce, I need some information on the kid. It's such and such. You know anything about him? You know what I mean?" I'm like, "Damn," and then you'll just come right off the top with something, just locked in, studying the whole year round.
Another thing that I do as the senior writer is create our prospect rankings.
Okay.
So our prospect rankings are NCAA certified. To be NCAA certified, we have to write anywhere from 2 sentences to a paragraph on every recruit that we rank.
Every one of them.
Yeah, by May 31st. May 31st every year, I think.
Has that changed at all this year with the COVID and all that?
No, I just now finished them actually. So every prospect I rank, like, if you have 150 kids ranked in the 2021 class, we don't have that many. In the 2020 class, we have around 120, I think.
Gotcha.
I have to write an evaluation on every one of those kids and submit it to the NCAA for us to keep our credentials as a scouting service, for us to be able to run events, so many other things. It's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Another thing you do, like you were saying with being in the loop with grassroots and AAU teams, is wanting to help players. You do a lot of linking up programs with players. Like I have AAU coaches text me all the time, like, man, we're looking for a point guard. Do you know one? We need a sharpshooter, whatever for our 2022 team.
Wow.
We need one who's not already on an AAU team or.
So these are coaches,
whatever.
College coaches hollering at somebody from a recruiting service.
Yeah.
More or less.
Oh, yep. I have college coaches at all levels. I have Division I coaches that I, will talk to on the phone regularly. I have grassroots and AAU coaches I'm talking to regularly. I have high school coaches I'm talking to a lot. It can be overwhelming trying to navigate through all that as a young person and be the level of professional that you have to be.
I got you.
When you have a coach, I have great relationships with, like, for example, a lot of the coaches from the San Antonio area.
Right.
UTSA, Texas State, that region.
True that.
You can't be a 20-year-old kid talking to those guys because they're not going to take you seriously, right?
So you can't be average.
And if you can't be taken seriously, then when you refer a recruit, they won't take that recruit seriously either.
Right.
Right? Like, I won't say that, the level that a recruit goes or the talent that, like, a recruit's recruiting is not in my hands.
I hear you.
But that doesn't mean we don't do things to help them.
I hear you.
I'm not getting, we're not doing things to get kids who are NAIA level be D1. Like, we're not doing that. Right? At the end of the day, it's how talented they are. But we could link up the player to the right school to get their degree that they want to get and to get the educational opportunities that they want to get at the right university, at the right institution. And we could have a lot to play in with that.
Oh, yeah.
You have coaches who will say, hey, give me, could you give me like a minute long highlight reel on this kid? And instantly I'm going over to my laptop and searching all of the film I have from that kid over the last 2 years, putting together a short highlight reel, and I'm sending it off. Because if I don't, that coach may take his attention to another recruit. And I may have just hurt that recruit's abilities to get plugged in with the right school that might be the right opportunity for them. What you want to do is you want to maximize opportunities.
Right.
So, it's outstanding if a kid can get a scholarship to a Division I school.
Sure. That's most of their dreams, right?
Right. But
unfortunately, everybody can't go.
What if I could get them options at multiple Division II schools? What if we could foster those relationships for them and help them with that?
Sure.
So that's a lot of the responsibility of the job as well.
How long did it take for you to get that part figured out? Or was it told to you verbatim by Matt right up front?
Matt told me that it would come naturally, and he was right, because it kind of has. Because when I was first doing it, there weren't a lot of college coaches coming up to me and asking me about things.
Sure.
And I don't blame them.
Because
I had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing. I understood from the journalistic standpoint, like I understood how to write a story. I was a good writer.
Sure. For
my age, but being an evaluator, helping kids get plugged in with the right opportunities, that's something that's intuitive, that it's instinct. It comes with it comes with your time in the business.
Sure.
It comes with experience. So at first, that didn't happen ever. Over time, the first coaches I really got plugged in with were the Murray State coaches, because that's my hometown school.
There you go.
It was actually one of my best friends from high school's uncle was the coach for the girls team at Murray.
Okay.
So then I started getting in contact with like Coach O'Connor at Murray and the staff they have there. Shout out Murray State.
There you go.
They have an awesome staff there.
Yeah.
And then
played ball there in my days. You know what I mean?
And then it became all of the Oklahoma JUCOs and D2s, getting in contact with them. And then you start getting in contact with like some schools in Kansas, some schools in Texas.
Sure.
You'll get an email, because at the end of all, or a DM, at the end of all my stories, I put, hey, if you would like more information on these recruits, like email me here or DM me here.
Sure.
You start getting those. And then you start getting to know coaches from other states, nearby states. There are coaches in Kansas, Arkansas, like the University of Arkansas, Fort Smith, right? They work recruiting on a lot of Oklahoma City area kids. So that was a connection for me. And then you just start filling in the map. And then suddenly you have coaches from all over the country who you're getting to know, who are using your content to help them make decisions. We're also wanting to help the universities get plugged in with the right recruits. Sometimes, OU, OSU, Texas, Tulsa, Texas A&M, they have the resources to go out and find the kids they need to find.
Gotcha.
Some of these smaller schools don't have the resources to find those players. They might never hear about a player if you don't, help them find them. So coaches will ask, like, are there any posts that we just have no idea about because they go to a small school or whatever?
Right.
And you're like, yeah, actually, here's some stories I've written about this kid. Here's some highlights about that kid. And that's kind of how the job goes.
So I guess there must be at least a little bit of truth to players who may not play year round for whatever reason. Because it's kind of unheard of for some of your top talents to not play AAU in the summer. That kind of hurts in terms of putting them on the market. Would you say so?
I would say so, absolutely.
But then again, on the flip side, not to cut you off, I always got to look at it on the other side.
Yeah.
You always hear coaches say things like, "Hey, if you're good, they'll find you." So it's like,
they will. But like, I think that what we do at Prep Hoops as a national brand also has a lot to do with that. They will find you, but it helps them a lot to find you when they can go to the events that we host, or they can read the things that we write, or watch the highlights that we include, we put on YouTube, on Twitter.
Right.
So from a recruit standpoint, I don't think you do need to worry that you won't be seen. If you are good, you will be seen.
Right.
But we are part of that process, I think. I think we are a part of that process. I think the guys like at Hoop Addicts are part of that process. Any medium. the local newspapers, the reporters for the Oklahoman.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, college coaches read those things
Sure.
to keep up with kids that they may potentially want to recruit or to find out about new kids. Absolutely they do. So back to your first point about kids like who don't play grassroots.
Right.
That's something that I do take a lot of pride in because I'm from a rural small school.
Sure.
There are so many very, very talented kids who are from rural small schools
those
who don't
hidden
play
gems.
who don't play grassroots.
Sure.
They don't have a local grassroots team. They don't know about AAU. Or they might play 3 sports. In the summers they might be getting ready for football season. So I do take a great deal of pride of also trying to find those kids because there are a lot of those kids who could get plugged in with NAIAs, with D2s, who could give them an opportunity to get an education and play the sport they want in college. And they don't know anything about AAU or getting plugged in with the team. So I do take a great pride in doing that as well.
That sort of goes back to what you spoke about yourself in the first segment, just not knowing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so you guys are providing that platform and that medium. Salute to you. But now we got to pivot. And we got to talk about something that's more current, the thing that's turned everybody's world pretty much upside down, or at least on its ear. We got the coronavirus situation happening. Man, I can remember the Thursday of the state tournament is when I remember that was sort of the beginning of things shutting down. The majority of the big entities, and it was like a domino effect. So directly or indirectly, how has this whole pandemic affected your lifestyle and your business? How has the grind changed for you?
Within my job, thankfully I haven't had to take any cutbacks. I still have been able to do my job, get paid for it. What I do have to do is find more creative ways to produce content. Right now, there would be grassroots going on, and I could be going to AAU tournaments writing about the players I see there.
Right. There'd be no shortage.
Right now, I'm doing a lot, like on Twitter, I'm having people send me like their huddle reels. Like parents and coaches send me huddle reels, helping kids get ranked, helping kids in that way where, I would have been seeing them in person, finding new players in person. So it's been a struggle over the last 2 months trying to find the content because, to get my paycheck, I still have to write content. I still have to do what I was doing. I still have the same workload.
Right.
I just have to find new creative ways to gather that content.
Would you say you've found sort of a groove? Have you figured out a rhythm in terms of getting it done?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So one thing I have done, I would usually not start on preseason material looking forward to next season until
2021.
Yeah, until closer to like June, July. It's when I would start like team previews and area previews and things like that.
Right.
I'm starting to do that now because there's not much else to write about.
Yeah.
I'm starting to do a little bit more. We are actually as a team starting to work on city rankings, which has been entertaining. Because how people are with like, trying to compare kids from Tulsa and OKC.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because Tulsa OKC teams don't meet a lot in the regular season.
True.
Right?
Only tournaments or the postseason.
Yep. So that's been entertaining doing these city rankings and seeing the discourse on Twitter. We're obviously still working on like all-state material, stuff from last season, finishing that off. Another way indirectly that I didn't realize was such a big part of my life was the social aspect of that job. When you're on the road going to grassroots tourneys and things, you're seeing a lot of the same people every weekend. There are AAU coaches that you form bonds with. There are even some college coaches that you get to know pretty well, talk to on a regular basis.
Right.
Even recruits that you're seeing all the time, like every weekend. Now that that's not happening, it's kind of weird realizing how much of a relationship you fostered with these people. It really does become your main friend group.
Yeah.
I mean, I have friends at UCO. I have colleagues. I have classmates. I have those things. But, like, a lot of those guys were my really closest friends when you come down to it because I was
spending a lot of time with them, man.
Spending a lot of time with them in different and weird foreign places. When you go to, like, Denver.
Yeah.
When you get on a plane for an hour and a half and you fly to Denver and you see that AAU coach who coaches at like Edmond Santa Fe or whatever, like it feels good to see them. You know what I mean? To see people from your turf.
That's
in a
right.
foreign place. So
And then
that's
you
been
get to
difficult.
it's like, hey man, I remember you. And then next thing you know, y'all are linked up.
Yep, exactly. So not having that from a social aspect has been really, really weird. You know, you make your life, when you take pride in what you're doing, you make your life around what you're doing.
I agree with
You
that.
form your friendships doing that, like you in coaching, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure your, coaches you've worked with formerly, coaches you still currently work with, you see them out in public or you see them at a tournament,
Right.
those are your guys,
For sure.
because this is your job, this is what you've dedicated your life to.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing.
And then you got something pure as the link.
Yep.
Kids.
Yep.
We all love the kids. We care about what happens to them and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
So that links us. Now, as
Absolutely.
far as the way you live your life, have you been taking some extreme precautions in terms of trying to protect yourself from possibly contracting the virus, or have you just been business as usual?
The journalist side of me, it can be very overreactive to things like this. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Taking shit seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So I have socially distanced to a degree. I wear a mask when I go places.
Okay.
I was in Tulsa at a friend's parents' house for a month and a half.
Wow.
For a while there.
Tucked away, pretty much.
Kind of rurally out in the middle of nowhere, a
Yeah.
little bit outside of Tulsa in the Claremore area,
For sure.
Collinsville area, where I wasn't seeing more than a handful of people every day. I've been taking it seriously.
I hate it. Were you taking this seriously from the jump? Because I'll be honest, early on I thought we were overreacting because I hadn't seen anything like this before, and mainly just the basketball junkie in me. I'm like, man, let's play the state tournament, man.
Right.
But
no,
anyway.
I definitely think I think I took it with a degree of seriousness because I'm not a scientist.
Fair.
And I'm not a politician. I'm not a policymaker. I'm not a lawmaker.
Gotcha.
They do that professionally, right? I don't think that they would come into my world and try to, tell me that like I ranked a kid the wrong way. Some would, but you know what I mean?
Right. For the most part.
They are the ones who are grinding that out daily. The nurses, the ER workers, people on the front line. I trust their opinion on it more than I would trust my own biases. So I kind of just took it, took it to the chin. Like, I hate that we're not playing the state tournament. Right. I hate that grassroots is getting delayed or could possibly not happen at all. But I would rather everybody be safe because at the end of the day, it is just sports.
That's right. Just sports.
I mean?
I like the way you cleared it up. Very, very well said. Now, moving back into your space, another thing that's sort of fascinating to me, freelance writer for the newspapers, 3 of them, right? And one of them you said is no longer in business.
That's correct.
How does that come about? Again, do you go find them or do they reach out to you saying, hey, we need X, Y, Z?
So my first job was when I was 17. The Daily Ardmorite is who covers, that's the entity, the publication that covers pretty much all of South Central Oklahoma, that area I was from.
Right.
From, Ardmore to Tishomingo to Medill, Kingston,
Is Durant in there too?
No, Durant has their own city newspaper,
Okay, gotcha.
and they cover that area of the world. They made like an all-area team for every sport. Well, I was named to their all-area team, their super team, my senior year of high school.
Right.
We had a photo shoot.
Yeah.
They did a photo shoot with all the area schools. I think their coverage area is maybe like 12 or 13 schools down there, so that was a huge honor, obviously, to be named the top player in my position in that.
Yeah,
but anyways, I just walked right up to, at the time, the sports editor of that paper, David Woolman, who is now in Frisco, I believe, in the Dallas area, getting to cover like real Texas high school football. So
there you go.
Shout out to David.
What a treat, man.
Yeah,
what a
he's
treat.
a really good guy. And I just walked right up to him and I was like, hey, I would like to learn more about this industry. This is what I want to do. And you are doing it, could you give me any pointers? And he was like, man, we could start sending you out to games if you want to go cover games. You would be doing it, granted, for free.
Yeah, pro bono,
because
baby.
we don't have the opportunity, unfortunately, to pay a 17-year-old to go cover high school basketball.
Sure.
So that's why I quit basketball in high school.
Really?
That was a big part of it too. Obviously, football, like playing football, is a big decision in it, but like that was kind of the tipping point because I had an opportunity to go cover local high school basketball. So I jumped on it and I started doing that. And I did it unpaid for almost a year, maybe like 9-10 months.
Okay.
Covering basketball, then baseball and slow pitch softball, then football again in the fall. And then that's when I got linked up with the Edmond Sun. So the Edmond Sun was my first paid job.
Right. And by that time you were in college.
By that time, yeah, that was when I had gotten to UCO.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing football. But, you know, I wanted to have a lot of things going on. I can't
sit still for too long.
I can't sit still for too long, yeah.
I like that, man.
So I started doing that winter,
mm-hmm.
and it really blossomed from there. So I would say a big part of it was like being unafraid to go ask if people were hiring.
For sure.
Because, I mean, they wouldn't have found me.
Right.
You know what I mean? They would have had no way to find me if I wouldn't have gone. Like, I got linked up with Edmond Sun because I went to one of my professors when I first got to UCO. Like, hey, I've been freelancing for this newspaper in Southern Oklahoma for, you know, almost a year.
Sure.
I would like to know if there are any local opportunities to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And they got me linked up with the Edmond Sun, and then I was with the Edmond Sun.
I like that.
And then the Norman Transcript is owned by the same company,
mm-hmm.
CNHI, who owns the Edmond Sun. So then, like, maybe a year later, I happened to be sitting next to the sports editor for the Norman Transcript.
At a game, right?
Tyler Palmatier at a game, working for Prep Hoops
right.
and the Edmond Sun. And he was like, hey, if you ever want to do any extra writing, let me know. And then that's how I got plugged in with him. So
mm-hmm. So do you still do some freelance writing for the Edmond Sun?
Yep. Well, no longer.
No longer?
Unfortunately. But
mm-hmm.
I was.
Right.
Yeah, and, you know, during football season, I was the Edmond Santa Fe beat writer for them. So I got to cover Santa Fe during football season for them. I do some work for them during basketball season, like feature writing, things like that. Same goes for the Norman Transcript.
Okay. And basketball is still primary, it sounds like, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so because of Prep Hoops.
I got you.
It became my primary interest in covering sports.
Mm-hmm.
I still will write, you know, about football. If I got an opportunity tomorrow to write football for the Denver Post, of course I would take it.
Hell yeah.
But so far, the trajectory of my career has leaned towards basketball.
Right.
So I've kind of found my niche in that and found my passion within that.
It sounds good that you're well versed in all of those sports and knowledgeable enough to
mm-hmm.
where whatever they give you, you can take and run with it.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I got a couple more things I want to throw at you, man. From a journalistic standpoint, or better yet, no, that's the wrong way to format it. From a media standpoint, you got so many outlets and entities that do similar work to what you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep your identity authentic without spilling over into somebody else's quote unquote lane?
Yeah. Well, that's a really valid question for the times right now, because I do feel like there is a lot of bickering between different media, different mediums. So first off, I'll say I have so much respect for what the other mediums do. You know,
right.
Some of my other really good friends, like the dudes at Hoop Addicts,
right?
You know, like Chev and Jay and Craig. Yeah.
Good guys.
Like
man.
when I see those guys at a high school basketball game, it's not like standoffish.
Right.
You know, like we dap each other up and we say like, you know, how's it going? How's life? You know, how's your girl?
There you go.
What I mean?
All of that.
You know, those guys are like my big brothers in a way. We kind of do a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
They do awesome content. You know,
right.
I'm definitely not saying that at all. But our content is more geared toward like film for college coaches to watch that they can evaluate. Where they're into making like some really badass cuts of like local high school talents, you know.
Gotcha.
And what they do is awesome and it's totally necessary
for sure
for the industry. So it's easy to not get competitive with guys like that at all because we're doing the sort of different things but achieving the same goal. Now there are other publications, one or two others who do exactly what we do.
Gotcha.
And what I'll say is like some of those guys, we have a working relationship and try to help each other out.
Right.
You know, I'll have one of those other guys from other publications like OK Hoops Report.
Sure.
Who will say like, hey, you know, do you have film on this kid? Because I have a college coach asking about him, but I don't have too much film on him, or vice versa.
Right.
You know, I'll say, hey, I have a coach asking about this kid, but I haven't seen him much. What do you think about him?
Sure.
There are other people also at the same time who I think can get a little bit aggressive.
Yeah.
But I think it's unnecessary because I've never been that way. We're accomplishing the same goal.
Right.
We're trying to help kids.
Yeah.
And the way I see it is if we are competitive, it's a good thing.
Right.
Because that means that the kids are just getting better coverage.
Yes.
Until it gets to the point where like or bickering and being petty on
Yeah.
Twitter. And, I've done it.
Right.
Others have done it, but at the end of the day, we are in a business. It'd be like nurses bickering about who gets to take care of this patient. At the end of the day, we're both trying to take care of the patient.
That's right.
Our job's to help somebody else.
There's enough out there for everybody to eat.
And of course, on the traditional medium side of things, I have great relationships with the TV guys. One of the first guys I ever met was Nate Feakin at KFOR.
Okay.
He's been a great mentor to me. We have a student TV show at UCO. I've had him on as a guest for my sports segment before.
Sure.
Guys at the newspapers, Cameron Jordan from the Oklahoman is a joy to work with. He's one of my best friends, and we cover a lot of the same games. I'll sit next to him, and we'll just BS. And he's a good guy. So it can get competitive, and I think it's good that it gets competitive.
It's good competitive because everybody's getting their best out there at that point.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think most of us still like each other and want to see each other succeed. When Hoop Addicts got their deal with Team Griffin.
For sure.
I'm like, hell yeah, go get your money. You know what I mean? Hey, go get paid.
That's right.
You guys do good work. You deserve, you deserve this. So.
And you find something you really enjoy, and then you figure out a way to monetize. You really win it.
It's mostly a good working relationship.
From a journalistic standpoint, how do you know whenever you're talking to a coach and you're getting, I don't want to call it a soundbite, but you're getting a statement from them, and you're gonna publish that? How do you know, or is it even your responsibility to sort of protect that coach when he or she may have misspoken or said something that they may not want to be published? You understand what I'm saying to you?
That falls under the scope of journalism ethics.
Okay.
Which was actually a class I took this semester, but
There you go.
I had already learned a lot of it from working in the field.
Okay. Is that the honor system more so than anything else?
It's an honor system. It's because there are right and wrong ways to do journalism.
Right.
There aren't many laws setting those boundaries.
Sure. Okay.
You're still expected to do the right thing. There is a code of ethics for journalists, but you're not going to go to jail if you break it.
Sort of policing yourself then.
It's very much a self-policed industry. So what I'll say is I get that all the time. I get high school players who, while coaches are mostly professional and they know to protect their own speech, high school players will say things that I just won't put in the story because I know it's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
And it's also not going to make my story any better. I was, obviously I won't name the kid, but I was talking to a kid the other day getting quotes from him because he was given an award in one of our postseason awards.
Mm-hmm.
And I was texting him like, hey, can I get some quotes from you? Like, yeah, sure. Okay, how do you feel to win this award? Honestly, man, I was really expecting it. I didn't put that in the story. I'm
Good call. Looking out for the kid.
That would harm the kid, and he's a high school kid, so
Obviously, there wasn't a whole lot of thought going into that from him.
Exactly. So there's, of course, a big ethical standpoint, and that's really where you set out the good journalist from the bad journalist. Mm-hmm. And if you are not a person in journalism, it's hard to see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you didn't go to journalism school, so you don't understand really
not necessarily trained to think like that.
But we journalists see other journalists, and when they're doing something that's unethical or kind of shady, we know. Mm-hmm. We know. What everybody else doesn't have to know, and we're not going to get to exposing people, but we know.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, look, Bryce, where can they find you, man?
You guys can follow me on my personal and professional Twitter at McKinnis Bryce.
Okay.
My Instagram, which is totally personal, is
still got to be a person, right?
Yeah, is at Bryce.McKinnis. And then I have my Muck Rack link, which is a link to all of my works, everything I've done, compiled, almost like a biography. On those links are on all of my other social media accounts, and then you could follow our Prep Hoops accounts at Prep Hoops OK on Twitter.
That works, man. And you sent me all that good stuff. So whenever it's time for us to get this edited and posted and uploaded, I'm posting all of that with it. All right.
Oh, for sure. I appreciate you
taking time, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.